Liam had always found joy in teasing Claire, his wife of 5 years, about her harmless crushes on actors, musicians, and even the occasional social media influencer. It was their little ritual. He would smirk, make a witty remark, and she would roll her eyes, laughing, as if their love was sealed with these playful battles. That night, however, the atmosphere in their apartment felt different. The golden glow of the living room lights cast shadows over the walls, as if hinting that something invisible was about to shift. Liam had prepared a simple dinner, a gesture he had done countless times, but tonight his heart wasn't in the humor, it was in the silence. They had just finished watching a show that usually made them both laugh, but as the credits rolled, his phone buzzed insistently. A group chat notification flashed, and Claire immediately reached for her phone with the familiar ease of habit. She tapped on a meme, laughed out loud, a high, innocent giggle that had once filled his world with warmth, but tonight it struck him differently. Liam's chest tightened, his pulse quickened, and a sudden weight pressed down on his shoulders. That laughter, so casual, so unaware, felt like a door closing quietly behind him. He observed her, her eyes sparkling at the screen, her thumb scrolling through conversations he had never seen. The air between them, once easy and full of teasing energy, had become fragile, almost crackling with unspoken tension. Claire, noticing his gaze, smiled softly, thinking it was a playful look, but Liam's expression was different. It was sharp, quiet, but with a depth that made her pause. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice gentle, yet carrying a flicker of unease. Liam didn't answer immediately. He placed his fork down, his hands trembling subtly. He realized he had been holding in months of quiet frustration, a slow accumulation of moments when he had felt invisible, replaced, unimportant. Her laughter at that meme, harmless to anyone else, was the final straw, proof of the emotional distance he hadn't dared to confront until now. Claire tilted her head, confused, her heart sensing the shift but unable to articulate it. "Liam, are you upset about something I did?" she asked softly. Liam finally met her eyes, his gaze steady, piercing, the warmth replaced by something colder, more reserved. "It's not just one thing," he said slowly, carefully choosing each word. "It's every small thing I've let slide, every time I thought I was enough, every time I thought we were laughing together, and now I'm not sure anymore." Claire's stomach tightened, the familiar comfort of their apartment feeling suddenly alien. She put her phone down, the sound echoing in the tense silence, a reminder of the emotional wall that had been building silently between them. Liam continued, his voice low, steady, yet heavy with the weight of restrained emotion. "I feel replaced, Claire. Not by another person, but by everything else that takes your attention, your time, your laughter, things that aren't me. I've tried to joke it off, I've tried to ignore it, but I can't any more." Claire's mind raced, a jumble of disbelief, panic, and sudden clarity. She had never intended to hurt him, never thought her innocent scrolling or casual memes could create this chasm. Yet, hearing the quiet intensity in his words made her realize the depth of what she had neglected. She opened her mouth to respond, but the words faltered, drowned in the raw truth of the room's heaviness. Liam stood up slowly, his movement deliberate, carrying the silent authority of someone who had reached the limit of patience. The apartment, once vibrant with their shared jokes and laughter, felt hollow. Every photograph on the wall, every shared memory now seemed suspended in the quiet accusation of absence. "I need some air," he said softly, almost whispering, but with an edge that Claire had never heard before. Without waiting for her answer, he stepped out into the cool night, leaving the door ajar, the sound of it clicking softly behind him, echoing like the finality of a decision long delayed. Claire sat there, frozen, the realization sinking in. All those small jokes, the teasing, the playful nudges she had taken for granted, had built a bridge that Liam finally crossed, but not back toward her. The fracture was complete, formed not in a moment of rage or betrayal, but in the quiet accumulation of ignored emotions. Panic set in as she picked up her phone again, desperate to reach him, to explain, to laugh, to bring back the warmth, but the screen showed his absence, a void she had never seen before. Her mind spiraled. What if he never returned? What if all their years together, the shared dreams, the whispered late-night confessions, were slipping away because she had failed to notice the quiet erosion of his presence in her heart? Outside, Liam walked aimlessly, the city lights blurred by the sting in his eyes. He hadn't raised his voice, hadn't screamed, hadn't stormed out in anger. The heartbreak was quieter, more lethal, because it wasn't fueled by passion. It was fueled by neglect, by the slow realization that love, no matter how strong, can wither when one heart is sidelined for too long. Every street he passed, every shadow he saw, reflected fragments of moments he had cherished with Claire, now tinged with the bitterness of unacknowledged needs. He remembered the way she had laughed at that meme tonight, her oblivious joy contrasting painfully with his growing sense of invisibility. Back in the apartment, Claire finally stood, moving toward the door, her fingers trembling as she reached for the handle. But as she stepped outside, the cool night air hitting her face, she saw him walking away, his figure retreating into the darkness. Her voice broke as she called his name, but it carried only a fragile echo, swallowed by the night. She ran after him, each step heavier than the last, but the distance between them had become more than physical. It was emotional, a canyon formed from months of small, unnoticed slights, of laughter shared with screens instead of each other. That night stretched endlessly, a cruel theater of silent agony. Claire returned to the apartment alone, every corner now a reminder of what she had taken for granted. She sank onto the couch, her hands clutching at nothing, the emptiness around her resonating with the absence of his presence. Liam, somewhere in the city, walked with a heart split between love and sorrow, carrying the knowledge that sometimes the deepest heartbreak isn't a betrayal. It's being left behind, unnoticed, unloved in the ways that matter most. The next morning, the sun rose with a gentle indifference to the storm of emotions that had raged overnight. Claire found a note slipped under the door, written in Liam's precise, calm handwriting. I can't stay where I am invisible. I loved you, and I still do, but love isn't enough when it's one-sided. Maybe one day you'll see what you've lost. The words cut through her like a shard of glass, piercing deeper than any argument or fight ever could. She sank to the floor, sobbing, realizing that the man she had laughed with, joked with, and loved for years had chosen silence and distance over pain-filled confrontation, leaving her to confront the devastating weight of her own neglect. Weeks passed, and Liam didn't return. Claire tried to fill the void with messages, calls, and visits, but every attempt reminded her of the irreversible fracture between them. The apartment remained full of memories, yet empty of the warmth that had once defined it. And in the quiet of sleepless nights, she replayed that evening endlessly. The meme, the laughter, the sharp, unspoken truth of his eyes, and understood, with excruciating clarity, that some fractures, once formed, cannot be mended. The heartbreak wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, insidious, and all-consuming. Liam had left not out of anger, but out of a desperate need to preserve the remnants of his dignity and self-worth, leaving Claire alone with a haunting realization. That love, no matter how playful or abundant, can die quietly, in the silence of unnoticed hearts.